Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Rustabout Collector here. Today we have another G.I. Joe Classified series review coming at you. This one being the much anticipated, at least by me, Cobra Officer. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. The G.I. Joe Classified line is so nostalgic for me. These are kind of the figures that I grew up on, even more so than the Star Wars figures. So getting them in this ultra realistic, ultra detailed line, it's so cool. I really love it. While I may not get every single release, I do try and get at least my favorites and some of just the cool designs that they come out with. And Cobra Troopers, Cobra Officers, Cobra characters in general have always just been more interesting to me design-wise, so I've picked up quite a few of those and really only a couple different Joes. Now the packaging here is the standard, or at least it was the standard G.I. Joe Classified packaging. I think that they're going to be shifting away from this style once they go into the more plasticless design, so we won't be seeing this big picture window anymore. But for now, this is what the standard is. I love the artwork here on the side. That wraps around to this side where you can see the Cobra Officer and some jets flying overhead. Coming around to the back here, we have the updated mural design with a lot of the new characters. I think at this point, though, we actually have all of these released, which is really, really awesome. I love the assortment of characters that we have gotten from this line. But yeah, this is pretty much the standard packaging. It's really sleek, but of course, we're not keeping it in the box because that's not what we do here. It's time to break this out of the box. And there he is, all ready to lead his Cobra Troopers into battle for the glory of Cobra. Yeah, this is a pretty awesome figure. You can see just how many accessories he comes with, and they can all pretty much fit onto his body here in one way or another. And that works even if you swap out this weapon for the larger rifle on his back, because you can then just put this one in that same kind of back holster thing that he has there. So that is really nice to see, because I always lose track of small accessories with these figures. When you can put them all on the figure, it is so nice. There's a ton of great sculpt work and detail here. Again, a lot of these parts are probably reused from various figures, but the paint apps here are really crisp. I love that silver on the helmet and again on the chest piece there. I think in both the Star Wars universe and the G.I. Joe universe, I am just completely a sucker for a cool trooper design, and the Cobra Troopers are no exception. For accessories, he comes with this smaller, I'm guessing kind of a submachine gun type design. It's side-fed with a banana magazine, which is quite curious. I don't know if this is based on any real-world counterpart. However, it is very realistic compared to some of the earlier G.I. Joe weapons, which I'm really glad that they've made that transition towards a more realistic style. But you have this here. You, of course, can take that magazine out, and that allows this to fit in the back holster. So you can take out the larger rifle, and you can just slip this one in its place. Well, kind of. I guess maybe not really as well as I thought. You can definitely get just the start of it in there, but I don't think that it is narrow enough to go all the way to the end. So that might not be actually what is intended to do, but for the sake of this, it's going to just sit right there, although it may not actually be intended to go there. The larger rifle also has this little flashlight accessory here that can go on his belt so that it fits in here when it's not being used. And this piece simply just pegs into the barrel there at the end, like that. And then of course this takes the same type of banana magazine as the other weapon. Now I would say that this is heavily based on the real-world AK-47. I think the original vintage Joe also came with a similar weapon, so it's accurate both in the real world and it's accurate to the vintage Joes that these are based on. It's cast in all black and just has the one brown paint app right there to simulate a wood foregrip, which is really cool. And not surprisingly at all, the figure can hold these weapons really nicely. Then finally, he comes with a sidearm as well as this dagger. The sidearm appears to be based off of maybe like a Mauser or something, and the dagger is just a dagger. But again, both of these can just be placed back into their holsters on the body. It's really nice for storage. They're not going to fall out or anything, and it just saves you that headache of worrying about all the small accessories that maybe aren't in use for display or toy photography or whatever you intend to use your figures for. And just in general, this is a very sleek looking character. His design is also much more streamlined from the previous Cobra Trooper that we got, this one being a little bit more textured in areas like the tactical vest there, as well as even the helmet. The helmet on the officer is very smooth, where this one has a lot of sculpted detail work. However, I think that these two still look very nice next to each other. I think this Cobra Trooper was released a little bit earlier in the line where they were still kind of in that sci-fi realm, and this guy, of course, is coming out more towards where they're trying to go back to those classic figure designs with more simplistic and real-world details incorporated into them. But despite any shifts in the design inspiration, I think that they still all stack up really nicely together. They all look like Cobra characters, right? You know, you got Cobra Commander, Cobra Officers, Cobra Troopers. They all look really, really uniform together. What I also love here is that they all have slightly different shades of blue. There's a much darker blue on Cobra Commander here, a slightly lighter blue on the Cobra Officer, and sort of an in-between dark blue here. And it just helps them stand out from each other. They're all obviously part of the same team. They're all part of Cobra. You know, they have that style between them, but each one has its own unique flair to it. Now, as with all these G.I. Joe figures, they're pretty much the same body, just reused in various ways, so the articulation isn't anything new, but we still have to go over it because, you know, it's a figure review, it's what you do. So up at the top here, you have the double ball joint at the neck, giving you some side-to-side tilt, some back tilt, and some forward tilt. At the shoulders, you have a butterfly joint that gives you the forward and back, as well as a hinge and swivel at the shoulder all the way around, up to 90 there. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow that gets you a crunch into about 90, maybe a little bit past. Hinge and swivel wrists that go all the way around. You have the up and down on the left hand, and you have the in and out on the right hand. I still wish that those joints were reversed, but you know, it is what it is. You have an ab crunch here, sort of hidden by this harness, as well as a ball joint in the waist. So the ball joint gets you that side to side, and then the ab crunch gets you a pretty nice forward, as well as a pretty nice back. The hips are on the standard drop ball joint that we've seen before, so you can kind of drop that hip down in case you need to get a little bit more mobility. The ball joint lets you get a pretty nice split there. There's also a thigh swivel, double jointed knees that gets you all the way to there. Then you have the swivel at the top of the boot, as well as a hinge and rocker at the foot, allowing you to point all the way to there, forward to there, and side to side. All in all, I have to say these G.I. Joe classified figures are probably the best 1/12 scale figure line on the market right now, especially for the price point. I know that has gone up a little bit in recent times, even for the classified line, but really it feels way more worth it than, say, a Black Series figure. You get way more accessories. The articulation is really, really locked in solid here. Like, they just keep reusing the parts and they find creative ways to do that. And that way the articulation is staying largely the same. You get a really good range. It's pretty well incorporated into the sculpt work of the figure, so there's not really any obnoxious joints that are standing out. And really, I don't have anything negative to say about this figure. There's been so many great classified figures. I'm sure if I got every single release, I would find some that are maybe not as good as the others, but so far they have all been really, really solid. If you're sort of on the fence about this line, you're not really sure where to jump into it, I would definitely recommend getting something like this, one of the generic Troopers. It gets you a good sense of the articulation, but it also gets you just a cool generic figure that could work in other things as well. Alternatively, of course, you could always jump in with something classic like Snake Eyes, but for the figures that are currently on the market right now, these Cobra Troopers really are great, and they just have such a cool classic design. So that is where we are going to wrap up this video. As always, there's a link down in the description if you want to follow me over on Instagram or any of my other social media platforms. While you're down there, be sure to leave a comment because I'd love to know what you think about this figure and just the G.I. Joe classified line as a whole. You know, do you have any of these figures and which ones are your favorites? Because, you know, I love to know what other people are collecting out there in the community. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you're watching this video. And as always, I'll be sure to catch you all in the next video.